All right, guys, we got a new section to the America Happens website called the Whistleblowers Forum, where you could go on there and anonymously or using your name post anything that you want and contact other whistleblowers to talk about what's really going on out there. All right, welcome to the latest episode of Blood Money. Today we have a very special guest, Kevin Hoyt. How you doing, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Kevin's here to describe a story to us, which delves into one of our favorite topics, which is the institutional corruption in our country, judges, politicians, really not working for the will of we the people, and essentially using, their powers as a criminal syndicate. I mean, we've heard these stories because of what's happening in our family courts with CPS, kidnapping, trafficking children, and Kevin's here to tell us what happened to him. Kevin, uh, just roll with it. Tell us what's been happening with you.
It's all connected, isn't it? It's amazing, actually. Well, first of all, I'm talking about Vermont State. I ran for governor of Vermont State, and we found incredible corruption on every level. It seems like they own everything from the clerks to the appeals courts. And no matter what rabbit hole I got myself into, I'd start with campaign finance. It always seems to lead to human trafficking. And eventually, I mean, I've determined, I think this is how our states make money. We've connected CPS, that's Child Protective Services here in Vermont State. We call it DCF, the Department of Children and Families. But we've connected CPS in your Congress with child trafficking. It's pretty unbelievable stuff. That's on top of the election fraud and all the other things. So I've got a bunch of screen shares. I appreciate you letting me hijack your show right off the bat, Ben. We just met the other day.
Anytime. I want to make this easy for you.
Well, and again, I think it helps to have visuals. We'll show a little bit of evidence and share it, and I'll try to talk our way through. So essentially, I'm going to go back in time here in Vermont State. I come from Bennington, Vermont, little tiny podunk America. But this isn't just Vermont. This is every town, USA, and that's what I get when I put out my videos. People can relate because you know about the good old boys club. It's
Hmm.
happening in your town too, right? Again, the
Yes.
power and again, embezzlement, money laundering, you name it, all the way to child trafficking. So my story starts with our old town lawyer. His name was Rob Wilmington. Rob Wilmington and Judge James Colvin are kind of masterminds that set up this incredible system that they have, again, for-profit, illegal, corrupt system. So make sure that popped up for you, Vem. Do you see him?
I do, yes.
This is my buddy Rob Wilmington, again, now missing. Apparently, he's, retired and moved to a different state. We have over 200 elected officials in Vermont in the last 2 years that have resigned, retired, moved, missing. A few of them got arrested, but not for what they're telling you. And again, I'm part of a RICO investigation. We'll get into this. So, Rob Wilmington, again, the ex-town lawyer for Bennington, Vermont. You'll notice here this will come up. Wilmington Bent, Dewey, Screw him, and How. This is his law firm, right? But Merrill Bent, his business partner, is going to come into play later. And he's also the vice president of Vermont Digger. So that's the largest media publication in Vermont State. It's important to have the media as well, right? So we're
Hmm.
going to keep on going. You know what an EIN number is,
I
correct,
do,
fam?
yes. Yes, I do.
For our viewers who do not know, it's a unique individual federal identification number for your business. It's an employee identification number. And again, a lot of people use their social security number, but businesses can't match. Kevin's guide service cannot match Vem's dog cleaning service or whatever, right? So especially if they're different tax bases. This is where we get interesting. So again, here's Merrill Bent. This is, again, business partners. We showed you that. We're down here at the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library, and I'm going to tell you all about this too. So, again, these guys are partners. This is the old town lawyer, and then he went on to run the media, Vermont Digger, and this is the new town lawyer. This is human trafficking ring number one and human trafficking ring number two. We connect them through the prosecutors, the lawyers, the law enforcement, the judges, and by the time we're done, you guys hopefully will have a better picture of this. So again, this place is very interesting. The Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. It doesn't exist, right? It doesn't exist. I've lived in Bennington my whole life. No one in Bennington has ever seen the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. If you look down here, per public records, it's 507 Main Street is their headquarters. Well, if you actually go to 507 Main Street in Bennington, Vermont, what you're going to find is Barr, Sternberg, and Moss. This is again one of the most predominant lawyers in Vermont state. We have a big PFOA, poison water settlement. This is they're standing in front of David Silver's office. This is the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. But when we had our big PFOA settlement, it was between David Silver and Rob Wilmington. So they owned both of them. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, a big thing here in Vermont state. So again, this is tax evasion. These people don't work for a law library and they don't pay taxes. So not only is it
Hey, hang
the
on. Could I ask you something?
Sure.
Are you saying that they've created a fake law library where they are, I mean,
Correct.
and
We're going to get into these
they're
EIN numbers, and I know I'm out of order a little bit, but these guys right here, when Judge James Colvin and Rob Wilmington, again, predominant judge and lawyer in the town, they got together and they created all these illegal EIN, their business fronts. Some of them are really great programs, got a lot of great people working there. They do a lot of good, but they're illegal business fronts for embezzlement and money laundering.
Hang on, no
And-
question about this because if I created a fake EIN number, or if I was using an EIN number for unlawful reasons, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'd be arrested very quickly. Like, isn't that against the law?
Well, it is, but that's why we removed James Condros, the Secretary of State in Vermont, right? Because they're in charge of businesses. They're the ones that are in charge of the EINs, along with elections. We're going to get into elections in this show too. Again, they own everything. They own every aspect. Like law enforcement, if you're trafficking drugs or money or children, you need law enforcement.
Who is
And
they?
likewise,
When you say they, who is they?
the Van Pattens, eight is enough. Don't you remember that show, Van? No,
Hmm.
it's again the cabal, the top 2%, the deep state, the whatever we want to talk. And again, I back the blue. A lot of people don't believe that because I've removed a lot of dirty cops, exposed a lot of dirty cops. I wouldn't defund the police. I'd give them more money. I believe in better training and equipment. I am 100% pro police, but a lot of cases, what we have is bad police, and it's always that upper echelon.
You know, I could relate to you, by the way. The one thing I didn't tell you about, which you're going to find pretty shocking, is that I'm dealing with a bad police situation as well. Actually, a sheriff. And Kevin, I didn't tell you this when we had our, pre-interview yesterday, but about 3 months ago, I was falsely accused of trying to assassinate President Trump by this corrupt sheriff. I'm that guy. I'm the guy that in Coachella Valley, everything
Wow.
he said was a lie about me. And what I've realized since then is, because first I wondered, why is this guy doing this? Turns out he was doing it because he wants to be governor of California. And he thought that by assassinating my reputation with false accusations, which, by the way, after doing a lot of investigation after he did that to me, we did investigations and I found out that there are a couple of dozen individuals he's done this to. But he did it to me. Fortunately, we have a documentary coming out that's going to show you all my friends in the freedom world on the right side that came to my rescue, basically, which includes people like Alex Jones, Roger Stone,
Mhm.
Mindy Robinson, a lot of the biggest influencers. But had I been somebody that didn't have the support, I would have been crushed and destroyed. So
Right.
this actually resonates with me. So when I actually researched this, and I'll shut up in a second, but just giving you a little bit of background because I think there's a lot of parallels here. When I started to research why this guy was in power after he had done so many bad things, and it's very clear that this is a bad sheriff operating under the criminal of law, well, the DA is supposed to hold him accountable. But lo and behold, the DA is his fishing buddy. And rather than doing the checks and balances that the DA is supposed to do, the DA is actually over and over ignoring and covering up his crimes. It's a
You're
system that's
nailing it.
working. They're all in cahoots with one another. So anyway, I just want to mention that I
Well,
have
they write the laws,
similarities.
right?
Yeah.
So per statute, your state's attorney, right, attorney general, they're the highest prosecutor in the land. But when you accuse them, they flip and they become the highest defense attorney. So when you go after your criminal government, and then again, I just talked about Merrill Bent. When I go after judges, it goes through the Judicial Conduct Board. Merrill Bent is the chair for the Judicial Conduct Board. There is no more checks and balances. They own the checks and the balances. And in my experience, and it's been a hard decade, right, of learning, but the people have nowhere to go except each other. The bottom line in this is enforcement and prosecution, and we have neither. So
That's
I
by the way,
give
that's been my biggest challenge. You know, these kind of individuals, I've realized they remain in power for years and years. Nobody else is doing it. When this occurred to me, I wanted to go to FBI, but then I started talking to people that I know that are in government, that are actually in the FBI, that were recommending that I shouldn't go to the FBI because
yeah,
they're like the FBI will most likely build a case against you to
that's
cover up
exactly
this
what
guy's
happens.
crimes.
We call it the satanic flip. Again, Kathy O'Brien, MK Ultra. It's right out of the rules of anarchy. Whatever you're doing, you accuse your opponent of. That's what they do. So again, this is typical. This is their MO. Deflection, distraction, diversion, division. That's their gameplay. They have nothing else. They're not creators. They can only steal and destroy. But I think we're starting to catch on finally. Let me go back to, again, the presentation. So at the beginning, Rob Wilmington and Judge James Colvin were setting up all these different businesses, and we'll get into a few of them. And at the same time, that's when David Silver was a young lawyer. He was just for getting his break. Silver handles all the big cases in Vermont State now. If it's 100 million and up, it's going to David. That's part of the play. It's pay to play, right? So again, they set up the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library, which doesn't exist, right? At the same time, they set up all these other businesses. So 507 Main Street, Bennington is the headquarters for the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. That's Bar Sternberg and Moss, David Silver's business. On the other side of town, right next to the Bennington Police Department, caddy corner from our town office, is Judge Jonathan Cohen. Jonathan Cohen, that's the Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. Judge Wesley Mook, Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. James Colvin, who just passed away, had a heart attack. Another one gone, right? Again, all his properties, Samuel H. Blackmer Law Library. This is RICO. For people who don't know what RICO is, it's racketeering, it's tax evasion. The IRS has actually got the lead in the RICO investigation. Then we got the whole, crimes against humanity thing that's happening too. So let me go back to screen share and we'll keep on going. Again, my buddy Rob Wilmington back up there talked about EINs and the Samuel H. Blackmer. It's tax evasion for sure. So Bar Sternberg and Moss. Uh, again, this is David Silver, this guy over here. Well, really interesting. This guy, Mike Munson, well, he works for my prosecutor. Erica Marthage. We actually call her the blood clot of justice. She's a key player. So, again, so does Jared Bianche as an attorney's name. He's the gentleman that's trying to get me in criminal trial. That's Merrill Bent's husband. So Merrill Bent, Jared Bianche, they always have different names. My town manager, Stuart Hurd, is married to Judge Scanlon, Christine Scanlon. So there's Justine Scanlon, excuse me. So there's always different last names. So unless you're a local, you would never know this. You wouldn't be able to make these connections. But I lived here my whole life. So there's Jared Bianchi again. I believe this is him with a gun in court, which is a no-no. Hand on his gun. Again, we can't verify or prove that, but several law enforcement people have looked at this is a buddy of mine in court harassing him, and I think it made Jared enough or nervous enough to put his hand on his weapon. So again, EIN, federal identification number, it can't match for any reason, especially if it's a different tax base. And this is where I'm going to show you a few of these illegal shell companies, like the Vermont Sheriff's Association. That's a small one, right? The
Mhm.
Vermont Sheriff's Association has a matching EIN number with my judge. I see that
Wow.
as a problem, right? Vermont's a small state. We only have 14 sheriffs in the entire state, 14 counties. If you're watching this and you're from Vermont State, you got a sheriff. Go ask him if he knows he's part of an illegal operation because he is. So Gary Forrest was again, when I was a little kid, Gary Forrest was the sheriff. He was a sheriff forever. And then Chad Schmidt was the treasurer. When Gary Forrest retired, Chad took over. And again, I'm the reporting party who turned in my sheriff. This is my sheriff, Chad Schmidt. The charges on the statewide issue law enforcement BOLO, be on the lookout for my sheriff and my high bailiff. The charges were human trafficking, drug trafficking, murder, obstruction. I'm the guy that reported the location, right? So again, the good feds, because the feds are divided too, came and got Chad. Chad's another missing official. right? And no one can tell us what happened to Chad. This article is actually really interesting because this
Wait, hang
is
on. Sorry, I got to ask you this question. So you're saying missing official. Are you under I mean, is this dude in Guantanamo Bay? Like, what happened? What happened to this guy?
who knows? Hey, he moved to Tennessee. John Gannon, the chair for the ethics committee, he moved to Wyoming, and Rob Wilmington's down in Arizona. But we can't verify. We have people down there too. So my theory is they're being federally indicted. Again, I've become real good friends with Mike Gill, the Pandora Papers, over the years. It's the same thing. It's a federal pay to play, and what Mike proved again with the Pandora Papers on a national level, I not only confirmed, but then we took it to the state and local level. It's the federal mafia. That's
Mhm.
what this is, right? So again, the Sununu cartel, Chris Sununu over in New Hampshire, he actually runs Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont in the federal mafia. So this hit piece on my sheriff, right? This is again alleged sexting sheriff, and that's how we call him, Chad, the sexting sheriff. This was an article in Vermont Digger. This was Rob Wilmington, and what this actually was blackmail. Rob Wilmington and the writer named Alan Keyes went to Chad Schmidt and they started this article. And then they went to Chad and said, "Hey, for 300 grand, we won't print the rest of it." And Chad paid, right? So we never got the end of this story from the media. They have no problem, again, going after each other too. But very interesting guy. And he
Going,
just,
the going after each other part. Let me understand this. So these are what you're saying. These are bad guys that are basically throwing themselves on the bus whenever they're threatened. Is that what's happening?
well, yes. And at the same time, the judge can't arrest the sheriff because the sheriff knows the judge dirt. And they can't go after the town manager and they can't go after because they all got dirt on each other.
Hmm.
So nobody can say anything. So again, the media, they got a lot of power. They put this story out there and then went back to Chad. Rob must have needed some money, right? Something. So they have no loyalty. There's no loyalty among thieves, man. These guys will throw each other under the bus to save their ass in no time, right? In fact, that's how I discovered this original thing. I found out that, again, Chad Schmidt, let me come out of screen share for a second again. Chad Schmidt ends up buying, we need a sheriff station in Bennington. So he ends up buying, it's the own Carbone auto dealership, which is a whole nother crime racketeering thing with the same group. But he gets a $2.3 million piece of property. Chad Schmidt Realty, most people didn't know my sheriff had a realty company too. He bought it for $189,000. $2.3 million piece of property. Deal of the century. And at this point, it's a great deal because we needed a sheriff station. So great, Chad, you got us a hell of a deal. We got an awesome sheriff station. But then I started looking at the deed and who owns it, who owns the building. I couldn't figure that out. They couldn't tell me down at the town. Eventually, I found out where Chad had gave the that building to the town of Bennington. So now I'm like, okay, now we have state allocated money for a sheriff's building that we bought. How does he give that to the town? So I went down to my town manager and I asked him, and it took him about a second and a half to throw the side judges, Wes Mook and James Colvin, under the bus. It was instant. It was, oh, that's the other town of Bennington. What are you talking about? And it's actually the courthouse next to my town office. There's a courthouse building that's owned by James Colvin. When you lose your property, your family farm, it always ends up back with the judge. It's a property grab. So there's the Town of Bennington Association. When you see these words, association, trust, don't trust it, man. The Vermont Land Trust goes back to the illegal EINs. I know this is complicated. Have I blown your mind yet? You keeping
Actually,
up?
it's not complicated for me, just because I've heard this story before. I hate to say it, I'm living the
Over
story,
and over.
but for the viewers, I mean, try to simplify it as much as you can. I mean, this is something that in every county that we've done investigations and this sort of thing's going on. You have Las Vegas, where I'm from. I'm from LA originally, actually, but I live in Las Vegas now, where you have police departments that are known for covering up mass shootings, that are known for covering up murders, that are known to basically gun down people and create fictitious crimes. These are not
This is
conspiracy
everywhere.
theories. If you actually Googled LVMPD history, you will find that this is what's happening. And then you do like the other town that I'm from, LAPD. You know what I mean? Do I need to say anything else about LAPD? I mean,
You
there's a
don't.
history of corruption, the Rampart scandals. So anyway, this is I've heard the story before, but I say that with,
Well, you
unfortunately, I've
came
heard.
from
Or
You're coming from the belly of the beast too. I'm a country boy. You're talking about, LA and Vegas, the city of purity itself, right? So
yeah.
I am 100% country mouse, but this is one of the amazing things, especially when you get to the human trafficking rabbit hole, is a lot of this happens in podunk America, where people can't hear you scream on the outskirts, right? The largest 800,000 missing kids a year, every single year. Those are the ones we know about, and just in the United States. And most of them come from rural places. Again, it's blood and about a whole bunch of different things, but Alaska, there's no one to hear you scream in Alaska, right? There's
Mhm.
a lot of, again, open country to do nasty things. So this is what we're finding out, our 411, national park system. And oh my God, it's all connected is the problem telling these stories. So it's extremely complex. The web is extremely large for me, like you, because I grew up here. This is second nature. I can roll this stuff off the top of my head because I've lived it. That's the only reason. Because I was in a position in my life where I was able to leave my dream career that I found a long time ago and look. They count on us not looking. I was able to
Mhm.
walk away from my life and do this. And thank God, man. I think God sent me, Tom. Let me go back to screen share.
Awesome.
Okay, Chad, our buddy Chad. Again, he ends up again just disappearing. Here's another
It's
one.
funny. The sheriff that tried to do the all that nonsense I told you about regarding the fake assassination thing. His name's Chad too. Just thought I'd mention that.
Well, their last names are specifically important. Ours are too. Names mean something when you go down those rabbit holes. But again, Roger Marcoux, this is a sheriff on the other end of the state. I've been after Roger for a long time. I've been up there. You can never find these people. They're gone. If you look, you go there, they've been in a perpetual meeting for like 3 years. They're elected, appointed officials that are not at their posts. If you guys go and look, especially here in Vermont, they are missing. COVID was really, really rough on our government. Worker, supply chains and worker shortages. There's nobody left because I think something else is happening behind the scenes. So Roger Marcoux is a sheriff up north, and
By
I
the
just
way, when you
wanted
say something else is happening behind the scenes, I mean,
to,
there's a lot of people that think these people are being arrested, tried, executed in
I believe that.
Guantanamo. I mean, that's where it sounds like you're going with it. Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I think. And again, I kind of got sidetracked, but Mike Gill, my friend, he thinks they're just getting whacked. Like, oh shit, they caught Chad. He knows about it. Boom, we're going to remove her. Maybe it's the pedophile priest thing. They catch him in New Hampshire, so then they'll just ship him to Iowa, and nobody knows any better, and they set up shop over there. So I don't know. I'm not a Fed, man. I'm not arresting anybody. I'm just a deer hunter from Bennington. I have no idea how I got here. I wake up every morning and go, holy crap, and get further into it. So, but I looked.
You're a great patriot, man. If everybody was doing this, if not even everybody, if like 5% of men were doing what you're doing, we wouldn't be in this mess right now.
All right, I got to brag again. My 5 times great grandfather, Harry Hoyt, was the first free Hoyt. Him and his father David fought against England for these very rights and very freedoms in this very soil. This soil has my family's blood in it. That blood is still in my veins today. And this is our duty per the Constitution. And it comes down to a simple fact. I mean, again, I ran for governor and was cheated like everybody else, but I don't need their position. I don't need their permission. I know they can keep the seat. I'm going to do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. And now that I know, I mean, I looked, like I said, I just told you guys, and I know it's unbelievable. Inconceivable is a better word. I looked, now I know you guys are stuck. I'm not going away. What kind of a man would I be if I didn't do everything in my power to expose and stop this? Right. And maybe that's the problem, waiting for other people to come do our work. Your mom was right. Everybody watching, you're special. Like if you only knew how much power and how special you were. And again, I created the Grassroots Warrior Network. It's got an ant for an icon. You ever feel like an ant? What am I going to do about chemtrails or election fraud or the Clinton body count, right? These are all very real. You guys all know that. Just like the shit that's going on in your town. You guys know. You already know. You don't need any evidence. You don't need proof. You know. What are
Hmm.
you going to do about it? You're going to
Hmm.
wait for somebody? I wasn't going to wait. I wasn't going to risk it. You're going to get me sidetracked. You get me fired up now. Like I said, we're going to get along. We got to thank Lisa Schermerhorn, by the way, for this introduction. Thank you,
Big
Lisa.
time, man. Yeah, I mean, it's I think part of it is like most people, men, women, don't understand law. They don't understand what their rights are, And in fact, I'll tell you, when this sheriff, did that nonsense, and I went after him hard, and I keep going after him hard. In fact, if you check out AmericaHappens.com, the Third Assassin hoax page, you'll see that just literally 3 days ago we released something. And people are like, "Aren't you scared? Aren't you scared? These guys are killers. They're cartel connected and all that."
Yeah.
This is what I hear all the time. And yes, we could be scared, but then you become a slave with that mentality. And
They're
people like you
coming.
that fought, your families fought and spilled blood over the tyrannical England, which is what we're dealing with right now, by the way. This is all coming from the city of London. England's always been our
I know.
enemy.
I know.
Without people like you, I mean, we'd be pretty much in shackles and chains. So,
Well, this is everybody watching. They're coming for you too. They've already got you. Think about it. You've been to the politician, the policeman, the hospital, the wherever, and not gotten justice. You've been abused by the system. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you voted for. We've all been lied to on an epic scale, man. And I don't know, the two wings of the same Baphomet, because it's not a bird,
mhm,
right? This is what we're looking at and discovering. And again, we are our own worst enemy, and not the American people, but the American government. We can't afford them. You're not the problem because you're made out of carbon. We can't afford them and their
mhm,
corruption. And again, this is the problem with, the restrictions. And this is always, again, that same old playbook. They create chaos.
mhm,
We're going to defund the police and pump in drugs, and recidivism will just let it keep on going. And we're
mhm,
going to destroy the family nucleus and destroy the education system and open your borders. And we're going to do all this. And then we're going to give you a solution. It's a problem reaction solution. The
mhm.
city of Burlington alone, do you have green algae blooms? Well, I love getting sidetracked on. Do you have green algae blooms where you are? You ever heard of that? Green algae?
Man, I'm a city boy, so I don't
Well,
know
it's
what
it's
that is.
everywhere. It's in the cities too, but this has to do with our water. Our water supply is horrible. That's going to be another commodity. So we have these green algae blooms all over the country, salt water, fresh water too, where they close our beaches. So again, problem reaction solution. So what happens is the city of Burlington, Vermont alone, one city, dumps, opens between 3 and 5 million gallons of raw septic into our largest fishery every single year. Now,
Wow.
what happened is our infrastructure, this is Bernie Sanders, this is Bernie's town. Our infrastructure is no good. So they don't want the septics to back up into people's homes and businesses in our streets. So they dump it in your lake. Okay, come to Vermont, come enjoy, have a great time, Lake Champlain. Don't go in the water. You'll go home with a staph infection. It's disgusting. You can smell it, you can see it. So what happens is they have a discharge, and then the media tells you we just had a green algae bloom. If you guys look up, green algae is not algae at all. It's human feces. So again, we put about $56 million a year into Lake Champlain just through fish and wildlife. It's our largest fishery. We're not on the ocean in Vermont, right? The big lake. So, and then tens of millions of dollars for Lake Champlain International, who investigate what's going on with the lake. Why is everything dying? Hey, maybe it's the shit. Sorry, guys, really. And if you live in Champlain Valley, guess where your drinking water comes from? How's that for great? You're swimming and bathing and drinking human septic, and they know they're doing it. They're responsible. And guess what? So they create the problem. The solution is we're going to have to restrict you. Your beaches are closed. We got another bloom going on. And then the solution is we need more money because there's more shit in the lake. Sorry for the French, but this
Mhm.
is literally what your government does. And that's one city. The new water treatment plant in St. Albans, Vermont, that's $1 billion with a B. And this is on a basic level, your local town is straight up price inflating. Pick a local or state project. Those $25,000 proverbial hammers, they're all over the place. They count on you not looking. They're straight up stealing your money. Law enforcement, when they're not molesting our children,
By
they're
the
the
way, if
ones
I could bring up something real quick, I mean,
distributing the
for the
drugs.
viewers out there, we just found out that there was $50 million going for condoms in Gaza. Okay. So,
Yeah,
like, dude,
that's the
$50
pork, the
million
fat.
dollars worth of condoms, I could fill the entire Israel with condoms, right?
I know.
Literally, I could fill like wall to wall. It's not a big place. What are we doing sending $50 million for condoms? These are the sort of things where it's such obvious money
It
laundering.
is.
That's not
We
going to
have
Gaza for
we
condoms.
Well, they think they're untouchable. Again, we have a pocket park in Bennington. We spent $100,000 on for 5 grand in the Boy Scouts. I would give you a really, really good. This is the fat that we're talking about, and it's to pad their nest eggs. This is our government. Again, we get sidetracked easy. So back to the Illegal Sheriffs Association. It's got a matching EIN with my judge. That's not cool. This is a letter that went out from Sheriff Roger Marcoux, again, who I cannot find. This letter didn't go to everybody. It only went to your grandparents and our parents and our elders. So the elderly people are being targeted by Sheriff Roger Marcoux trying to solicit money for the Vermont Sheriff's Association. Now I'm going to prove in a second. Here we go. The Vermont Sheriff's Association. And you can see that number right there, right? That
Hmm.
number, the 8060. Well, right up here under the Mount Anthony Preservation Society, MAPS, that's Judge James Calvin's nonprofit. There it is again,
Mm.
8060. So MAPS was like an umbrella company. Then underneath them, they've got all these other numbers, right? And what these are is there's one for the judge and one for the senator and one for your local. If you look at all these associations, it's going to be your local select board, your local officials sit on the board, right? So there's a kickback. So there it is. The Gary Forest Sheriff's Association has got a matching number. And a lot of people say, well, that's just a screenshot, Kevin. These actually came from the Cochran law firm. Johnny Cochran, he died. He still got a hell of a law firm going on in LA. So a big shout out to Rick Wright. Another hero in this is Susan Bassey out in Cali. They are literally dismantling the judicial system from Cali to Vermont and every state in between with JAMS. For all you viewers that like homework, JAMS. You know that is arbitration.
Mm.
All 50 states I have judges that are members of JAMS. It's a side judge hustle. So what that one is, man, we get sidetracked easy. Judge Suntag here in Vermont, Bennington, Vermont. He's also Judge Suntag in Nevada, where his day rate's $35,000. So if we're a celebrity couple, I can hire Judge Suntag in Nevada. We go to the head of the line. There's no public scrutiny. There's no media or nothing. When we're done, we get a signature on our paperwork. It's a private judge, is what they sell it as. The problem is there's no such thing as a private judge. These guys aren't licensed to practice in Nevada, and none of these people are paying taxes. They'll do
Well,
speaking of California, get paid, again, no taxes. So that's JAMS, JAMS. But here we have the Mount Anthony Preservation Society and the Vermont Sheriff's Association. Here we have the Project Against Violent Encounters. We call that PAVE. There's your matching EINs again. Great program. It helps battered women. Like I said, a lot of great people involved. They've helped a lot of people. It's still an illegal shell company. And these are endless. The Vermont New Hampshire Christmas Tree Association. You'll hear my governor, CCP Governor
so
Phil
are you
Scott.
saying that they're using what would be altruistic endeavors to basically take money from people and not do what they're saying?
Yeah. Well, it's embezzlement. So again, I can't pay you 50 grand. I'm an illegal sheriff. You're a senator. I can't pay you 50 grand, man. We'll get caught. But I can run it through your nonprofit, right? And again, some of these, I mean, our tax pays for it. Our taxes pay for these illegal companies too. This is Bennington County Court diversion. Sorry, I'm trying to slam it into one screenshot there. But
Hmm.
we know this is CRJ, the Center for Restorative Justice. They're offering me a plea deal right now where, again, I'm facing 3 years for saying a name and trying to report felony gun crimes. They made it illegal to report, crimes by them. But I kind of bitch slapped him in the last court hearing. So we went from 3 years to a $50 fine, and I can go to CRJ. And when
Hmm.
he told me that, I'm like, hey, that's got a matching number with the judge, too. You guys can go stuff it, right? But we'll see what happens in the long run. We still got that criminal thing in action. So, of course, the courts, Bennington County Court diversion, of course, the courts are involved, right? Here's the where it gets interesting. Bennington County, it's Child Care Association. We know that as Sunrise. And I circled the wrong number. Here's the matching number. 7784. There it is, 7784 from the Cochran Law Firm in Cali. So it's got what this is again Sunrise Family Resource Center in Bennington. This is When you see the Bennington County Child Care Association on paperwork, what we know at the public is the Sunrise Family Resource, and there it is circled up. So this is a child advocacy center that's run by the Vermont Department of Children and Families. Okay, and not only does it have, a matching EIN number. Here's a news article. We've got again CPS taking, it's a key word, without
Hmm.
any proof of abuse. We've heard this over and over, but it's got this symbol. You see this symbol?
Hmm.
This is an FBI disclosure. This isn't Kevin. This isn't Vem Miller. This is the FBI saying, hey, these are pedophile symbols. And there's Sunrise Daycare. So it has not only a matching EIN with my judge, but it's got what the FBI calls a pedophile symbol in their logo. And if you look really close, it's also a six-pointed star. If you look at Cindy Tumeyer, her husband works for the town of Bennington. She also runs the money for PAVE. She's involved with Vermont boarding schools and the Buxton schools and education, all these ties. Again, this is out of all the symbols in the world for the sun. Why would you pick that one to match? This is a child advocacy center run by the state guys. This is pretty top level stuff.
You know
Here's their
what's
logo.
interesting is that Justin Trudeau of Canada, there was symbols like this with his organizations as well that were akin to, these predator type symbols.
Symbolism will be their downfall. That's what they say. And here's their donor page. Thank you. Special thanks to all of our donors. There's a symbol. There's a six-pointed star. That would be Judge David, right? Howard. That would be, again, Bob Howe is huge. Judge. Why have all our judges? Mary Welford, that's a guardian ad litem. It's another high-powered attorney. Pat Winburn. I ran against Pat for governor, right? He spent about 300 grand on yard signs and didn't get anywhere. But again, here's my sheriff, my sexting sheriff. Again, and his charges were human trafficking. Here he is at Sunrise Daycare with Trooper Godfrey. Trooper Godfrey's gone now for, again, assaulting his wife. I think it was a Hoyt, actually. There's so many different components, but they're all connected. So there he is down at the Sunrise Daycare. And this is where it gets interesting. In 1986, that was a long time ago. Now we've got a cover up of sexual misconduct with children. These are the sealed records, right? So what happened is we had sexual abuse at the same child advocacy center with a matching EIN and what the feds call a pedophile symbol. And they covered it up. They, in this case, would be Rob Wilmington, the town lawyer, and Rick Gauthier. Rick Gauthier at the time was our chief of police. So this is about the time that Rob Wilmington went on to run our media, and Rick Gauthier retired under controversy, and then he went on to run the Vermont Police Academy, where they did their recruitment and retention for the next 20 years. The funny part about this is when the feds went to the Bennington Police Department and said, hey, we need these records. They said, oh man, we're sorry. They're gone. They're too old. We destroyed them. Them records aren't here. And you know what I mean? My advice for anybody when the feds come to you, don't lie. They already had the records, man.
Hmm.
Don't lie is my advice. And they're coming. This is Rico. So, all right, we're going to jump subjects again. We like talking about, there's those symbols again. See those symbols in
Yeah.
this hand? You
Yeah.
see
The
again,
pedophile looking
the same
thing.
pedophile symbols. They say, them, you're supposed to look at art. You're supposed to stand back and just take a look at it and, feel it. How do you feel when you look at, somebody's artwork? And there's a whole bunch of things in this picture.
I mean,
The
very demonic
symbolism.
looking. I mean, I don't even know. Well, this is a very sadistic looking picture. It doesn't give me good vibes by any
Well,
means.
we have, again, symbolism. We have not only the pedophile symbols in the water and on the hands, but this is what happens above, happens below. It looks like almost vampire teeth or she's eating something. The girl obviously doesn't look happy. We've got the two Masonic pillars behind her, right? We've got, again, I don't know if this is, an octopus, some sort of a creature or something coming out of I'm going to say a witch's cauldron. Looks like this girl's heart, right? That's her heart. Something's
Hmm.
happening. They're doing, yeah, not a good. This is student art, by the way.
Hmm.
This particular portrait we found at Castleton University Fine Art Institute. We've
Wow.
seen this in college, in high school, in elementary school, artwork by our kids. Our kids are drawing this, guys. Again, college, it's borderline kid, but the artist that drew this, maybe a Fed should ask her some questions. So we expose this.
You know,
Again, I
one of the
found
things
this.
I got to mention is that when you look at the demonic realm that we're currently living in, I just went on Instagram half an hour ago, and it's all these women talking about, doing porns, like where like 10 guys will literally like come on their face. I'm sorry to be crude, but this is what they're talking about. And then they take something called a cum walk. I mean, this is like mental illness. And one wonders how much of this stuff feeds into this kind of immorality and the current state of, what things look like with the male-female dynamic in this
Your
country.
mom. Didn't your mom tell you about the video games and the rock music and right? And
Yeah.
I laughed at her. My
My
mom, I
grandma,
wish
my grandma actually
we
told me.
should have listened to our parents, man. They used to pray over our food too, for a reason. Prayer works, guys. This is where we're going with this. So again, this is the Castleton University Fine Arts Institute. Castleton University, that's Bernie Sanders again. Whenever Bernie has any events or anything like that, that's at Castleton. Amazingly, when I found this artwork and disclosed it, within a, a month, 3 weeks later, the ex-dean of Castleton University was murdered, right? And here you'll see the original article. The original article actually didn't even tell you who it was. It didn't say it was an ex-dean. It didn't say anything. They were being very quiet about this. But this is the ex-dean, Honore Fleming, 77 years old, who was shot in the head right after we disclosed pedophile art at Bernie School. I found that to be an unbelievable coincidence. We have mass murders now. They're killing whole families, guys and their wives
So,
and
so,
kids.
so, quick question. Are you
All
saying that this man was murdered to cover up, I guess, by other bad guys to cover up what he
right.
was part of?
It was a female actually, Honore, but yes, I believe once we disclosed, hey, there's some pedophile stuff going on at Castleton University, my guess, and this is pure speculation, is Honore knew too much. So they removed her from the situation. That's my guess, right? Again, a lot of this, I'm just telling you guys what I see, what I know, what I found, right? So
Yeah,
we
you're
can
not, you're not, I mean, you're not an investigator in charge of solving the murder
we
mystery,
become
but you have,
investigators, haven't we? Here's again the three triple triangle. Do I need to go back to the pedophile sheet? Guys, Castleton University, one of our governor's campuses. So here's Bernie with Jim Mandel. And this is the real Bernie Sanders, by the way. This is only like a 7 or 8 year old photo. The
Mhm.
guy they're showing you on TV, that's not Bernie, guys. Looks like him. You guys have been so brainwashed. But this gentleman standing next to him is a pedophile, and I can say that because they charged him, named Jim Mandel. So again, this is really interesting. Jim Mandel ran a day camp called Overcoming Barriers. You guys should look in your state. It's in multiple states. It's up into Canada. So Overcoming Barriers is a summer camp where you send your children. When they took away Britney Spears' children in LA, they
Mhm.
sent them to Vermont. A lot of people
Mhm.
don't know that. They sent them to Overcoming Barriers, right? With Jim Mandel, right?
Mhm.
And by the way, the therapists and all the counselors that took away Britney's kids, they weren't even licensed. They, they just make up the rules as they go. But they sent their kids to this guy who's best friends with this guy, just going to make some voodoo donuts is another rabbit hole for Bernie. But we closed Overcoming Barriers for human trafficking in January of 2021. They haven't told you yet.
Mhm.
Closed, canceled till further notice. Here's their last goodbye circle, right? I'm telling you guys, more is going on behind the scenes than they are telling you.
You had mentioned that that's not the real, that's a real Bernie, insinuating that the one around right now is not the real Bernie. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I'm insinuating a lot of that. I don't think, that's not Obama, that's not Fauci. Hey, that's not Joe. 6 years ago, when I said that, everybody laughed at me. Now we're like, hey, man, I don't think that's Joe. Yeah, no shit. That's not Tom Hanks. That's not I mean, I'm a television producer. I was in 106 million homes at one point as a producer between CGI and fake masks and deep fake masks and green screens and the CIA crap and old footage. You got actors in masks, body doubles. What you're watching on television is not real. It's not real. And right where it's twisted at best. It's a narrative. The good part is, I'll come out of screen share again. The good part is I think the good guys are in charge of that right now. We only see what they want us to see.
Hmm.
So that's not Joe Biden, bumbling, stumbling Joe. Who is it? Who's he working for? Right. And I think that's optics. Just like
Mhm.
Donald Trump, I think right now is highlighting all the bad guys. And he's been doing this the whole his whole career. Remember the 2016 capitulation tour? Went over with the Pope. Looks like the Pope wanted to puke. We got the Queen. We went through Hollywood. We went through all these places. Saudi Arabia, right down to his latest cabinet picks. Nobody knew who Vance was, JD Vance, until Trump said, "Hey, this is my guy." And now we're like, hey, wait a minute, you're involved with transhumanism and the biopharmaceutical industry. And so we're starting to highlight and look at, we're paying attention now.
Mhm.
So from Elon, we talked about symbolism. Go look at Elon's favorite video games. I mean, the character of Elon, it's not Elon either. I like him. He's a likable guy. They're trying to, again, they're showing us stuff. Who thinks it's a good idea to put a neural link brain chip in the back of our heads? Or let's let big tech build a giant surveillance grid over the entire world. What could go wrong? Like these, but they're glorifying it, they're highlighting it. You know, Elon's favorite video game has to do with the Nephilim, where he
Mhm.
plays a role where you fight, you know, the good guys and the bad guys to gain power as a Nephilim. If you look at the symbology that Elon wears, the upside down cross, all these things. And again, it's not Elon. And I hate to tell people, but based on my research, we haven't seen the real Donald Trump in a long time, too.
Oh, wow.
So I think we got some, the signatures aren't the same. I agree with the executive orders. Again, good friends with Derek Johnson, right? I think Derek's 100% spot on, but at the same time, it's not Trump signing the executive orders. I think there's psyop on top of psyop on top of, I don't know what good guy's a bad guy and what bad guy's a good guy. I think I'm still me, Mark Atwood. Would you know if you were a clone? I think so. I don't know. That's what I said. These are the things, you know, along with cannibalism and child sacrifice and, you know, all these crazy things that, Bam, did you ever imagine talking about this stuff on in public? And like,
I mean,
I didn't.
I grew up in Hollywood, and it's crazy, but I didn't, this child stuff I never ran into, but there was definitely a lot of immoral perversions that you just have to dodge while you're in Hollywood, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this stuff's
Well,
all
a lot of
definitely.
it was, I think the problem is it was right here. It was in so close. Betty White, how do you stay so young and useful, youthful? Well, I eat right and I diet and I exercise and I drink the blood of a virgin every other Tuesday. And we all laughed. Ha ha. I hear David Bowie talk about put on my red shoes and sing the blues. It has a different meaning for me now. Some of these movies like Hostel and especially horrors, all these things, we give these directors credit for their imaginations. I don't know if, you know, it's all imagination or were they just telling us the truth? I was a Star Wars nut. That's no moon. We've been lied to. That's all I really know is we have been lied to. And when I say that, it's hard to put it into perspective for most people. So again, the real Bernie Sanders with Jim Mandel, the pedophile. You should look at Voodoo Donuts again if you're interested in Bernie, some pretty crazy stuff. This is human trafficking ring number two. This gentleman right here, Bill Humphreys, Wild Bill Humphreys, he's a police chief over in Fairhaven. He put up a wanted poster for me and another guy, Daniel Banye. It's another Vermonter that's a patriot standing up. They used Daniel for a gun grab here in Vermont, passed a bunch of unconstitutional, illegal law, stole his land. I mean, he lives next to a bunch of human traffickers is the problem. So Bill Humphrey put up a wanted poster for me and Daniel Banye, and everybody sent it to me, and they said, this guy hates you. He hates you, Kevin. I've never met this man before in my life. I'm like, why does he hate me? So I started looking. I don't even have to look for these guys, man. They come to me now. I know why he hates me now because Bill Humphreys is a two-time convicted police chief. He served alcohol to minors not once, twice. How does he become a police chief? Took one of those minors' virginity, by the way. And the
Wow.
stories from the people all around that are too afraid to stand are incredible. So I started looking into Bill Humphreys. Again, tarnished badges. This is, again, we're talking about Bill Humphreys. This is where he made the media, Vermont Digger again, talking about all these dirty cops here in Vermont State. So it led me to this guy. This is Tom Cavino. Tom Cavino again is a constable in Paulette. Bill Humphreys used to be a constable in Paulette too. So these two worked together at the Vermont jail, Marble Valley Correctional Facility, where they used to smuggle in cocaine for the inmates. We got friends in low places too. Those inmates are telling the truth now. So when Tom got out of corrections, Bill Humphreys was a constable in Paulette, Vermont. So he got his buddy a job. right? So he came on as a second constable, but he didn't have any equipment. He had to buy his own equipment, so he went out and bought a Crown Vic. He bought a radar detector. It's not calibrated or certified by the state or nothing, but he's got one. You need these things to impersonate an officer. Um, and then again, he never completed certification. So in October 15th of 2024, Tom Cavino is at the Paulet Select Board meeting asking for Bill Humphreys to come back and train him. Bill must need more money because Tom is not certified. He reminds the board at that point that he got out of law enforcement in 2003. So this guy's been impersonating a police officer for 21 years. He's got a reputation for writing tickets and beating people up, right? He's not a cop. We have a cop that's not a cop that's appointed by a two-time convicted cop. What is going on in Paulette? So again, I dive in and start looking. These are the dogs. If people want to know, these guys, they work for your prosecutors, like Merrill Bent. That's Merrill Bent nowadays. She put on a little weight. This is the prosecutor up there. This is the woman that's trying to. They threw Daniel Banye and his entire family off their land because they don't believe in their beliefs. They disagree with them. I want people to think about that. Daniel Banye had a permit to put up a gun school where he trained law enforcement and other military. So 2 years after they gave him the permit and he built the school, the judge revoked the permit and then they took away Daniel's land because they don't like guns. It was the gun narrative. Passed a whole bunch of laws, including we can't have a militia in Vermont. Passed a law saying there's no paramilitias. I don't know the difference between militia and a paramilitia, other than a fancy word, but that would be unconstitutional. And again, she works for this Robin Chestnut Tangerman guy. It just you can go up the ladder.
So
But Merrill
Bernie Sanders, they're doing, you're telling me they're doing grossly unconstitutional things. What does Bernie think about that?
You can't get near Bernie Sanders. I went to a Bernie Sanders Becca Ballot rally. And normally, I mean, Bernie was famous to walk in the streets of New York City and whatever with no Secret Service or security. You could not get near the new Bernie Sanders. I couldn't get within 20 meters, take a picture of the back of his head because of security. And again, I'll repeat, security for my governor right now is the Vermont State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation Major Crimes Unit. That's a mouthful, but I'll give people a hint. They're doing the security detail for my governor, major crimes. No one in the history of major crimes has ever drawn a security detail, ever. They do not do security. They do major crimes. So I think again we've been working from the top down. I think the Obamas and Fauci's and all those people, Hillary, I think they're gone, long time ago. And then the next tier down, which would be the governor level, if they're not gone, they're controlled opposition. I think we're running two timelines right now of them, and the warrants in Hollywood are a good example. Right now, there's active warrants, right? Will Smith, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Oprah, Ellen, right? Everybody, you guys can go look that up. I'm telling you that already happened because I reported it like 2 or 3 years ago. Remember, Vem? You remember you reported it too, I'm sure. So we
Yeah.
were looking at these people years ago. I think they were taken, and now what you're getting is the public version. Well, people who know that narrative, you know where that rabbit hole goes. What are we talking about when we're talking about Oprah and Jay-Z and Ellen? We're talking about adrenochrome. That's in mainstream media. All you people that are awake and aware, you're ahead of the curve. So let
Hmm.
me keep going with Merrill Bent here. And this is her husband, Jared Bianche. Again, Merrill Bent is the prosecutor going after Daniel Banye, and Gerald Bianche is the prosecutor that's going after me down in Bennington. They're the prosecutor up there. Erica Marthridge, who this guy works for, is the prosecutor down here, all deeply tied, again, with my sexting sheriff, Chad Schmidt, each other, our senators, our House. Here's a Vermont town official. What they're telling you is a select board member, the Crossman, Brian Crossman family, whole family was absolutely murdered. This is after we dive in. Bill Humphrey puts up the wanted poster. I dive in. I start making these connections. Now we got mass murders happening. Now
What
the
are they
the
covering
first,
up by murdering this whole family?
well, again, it was him and his son. This is all human trafficking, and I think Brian Crossman knew too much. Now the murderer in this case was his son, right? as a family member, but it's also the stepson of Ernie Bassett. Ernie Bassett is the police chief in Granville, New York, which is right across the border. Granville police were the first ones on the scene. A New York police thing. After the Vermont State Police were notified, they found the kid walking around covered in blood. New York was the first one on the scene. That doesn't even make sense to me. And when you look really close, Mr. Wild Bill Humphreys, not only is he a police chief over in Fairhaven, Vermont, but he works as an officer for Ernie Bassett in Granville, New York. So they were the first ones on the scene with their stepson as the accused murderer. In fact, they didn't arrest him. They took him to a hospital over in New York, and it was days later before he was actually arrested. And I've got text messages from this alleged murderer, right? They didn't plead guilty yet, but I've got text messages where he's impersonating me. This guy's
Mm.
been online as Kevin Hoyt again. So they've been following the same stuff. And once you tie all this together, so again, and it's multiple jurisdictions too. Bill Humphreys works in multiple areas in both Vermont and New York. Tom Cavino, the cop that's not really a cop and impersonating a cop for 20 years, he started his criminal career as not a cop, as a constable in Paulet. But then Bill Humphreys, because he's the police chief, he hired him as an actual officer in Fairhaven, also in Rupert, Vermont. Castleton, that we talked about with the pedophile art, that's the next town over. All
Mm.
connected. These are the same officers for this area, right? So again, this is a somber realization, but we have people dying here in Vermont, and I believe it's over these issues. So again, here's an interesting article. The Pollitt Select Board owner, farm owner, a select board member is cited for assault. It's funny, there's no names. If Vem Miller was cited for assault, I bet it'd say Vem Miller in giant letters right there. What they're not telling you is this is Mr. Hewlett. It's the select board chair. This is the guy that runs the Hewlett farm and the town of Paulet, Vermont. So this is where we're going to get a little interesting and a little higher. So again, and how did this all end? Let me go back to the immigrant one. So what happens is he runs this giant farm. How giant? They provide all the milk exclusively for Ben and Jerry's ice cream, Kroger, Hannaford, and Stewart's ice cream shops. Each one of those contracts is giant. They do it all 100%. So the people should maybe start protesting those businesses or letting them know. So the Hewlett Farm, what they do, like many of these cabal companies, they bring in illegal immigrants. So again, we call them seasonal workers here in Vermont. I don't know what they call them down there, right? So they bring in all these families that are illegal from Mexico. And in this case, Mr. Hewlett, he had a farming accident when he was a kid. So he's got a fake arm. He's got a titanium arm. Well, there was an argument over drugs. So Mr. Hewlett beat one of these immigrant workers with a titanium arm, right? And then the immigrant's nephew, who was a 15-year-old kid, got involved. He got beat too. It's a big deal, right? Getting hit by titanium is giant. These poor immigrants, they come here, they're trafficked, they're separated, they're paid shit wages, they do all of our crap work and they get beat for it. And what about child labor laws? 15-year-old, man. Why are we bringing 15-year-old immigrants up here? Whole bunch of shit. So, again, there's a lot of stuff happening. Of course, what happens? Because he's Mr. Hewlett, nothing happens. He accepts a diversion sentence. So everything's all quiet. There's no public knowledge. We don't really know what happened. And that's CRJ. You remember the matching EIN?
I do,
So we
yeah.
went through his, yeah, they investigate themselves. His sentence was they have to go through themselves. I don't know. He pays himself $50. It's so ridiculous, and you couldn't possibly make this up. So this guy right here is our house rep. This is Robin Chestnut Tangerman. This is his business partner, Mr. McChesney. They own McChesney Realty. They're a giant developer in Vermont State, probably other places too. I haven't looked. But they're neighbors with Daniel Bonnier. This is the land grab part of that. And I guess the gun grab too, because he's a politician, in the human trafficking grab. So again, Mr. McChesney and Robin Chestnut Tangerman, business partners, they're running Paulette. McChesney Realty. I was just at McChesney Realty last week. Nobody's there. I'd like an interview with Robin. But this is Mr. McChesney. Lee McChesney, the owner, 84 years old. He was charged with soliciting a prostitute down in Florida. I don't know if you remember this. This is with Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, and a whole bunch of other things. There's a giant.
This was around the same time that I remember Kraft there was a massage situation where he I don't know if it was a happy
That's
ending or
this.
what. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. This is this. Well, what they're not telling you again, this is a powerhouse. This guy, again, they got him with solicitation of a prostitute. What they didn't tell you is she was a 17-year-old Asian woman that was chained to the wall. Chained. She's a prostitute.
Hang
I
on, hang
forgot
on.
the chained to the wall part though.
Are you saying that Robert Kraft was involved in that?
Absolutely. There's over a hundred people
And so
involved with that.
it wasn't a masseuse, it was some 17-year-old chained to a wall?
Well, at least with Mr. McChesney. I don't know what Mr. Kraft was into, but there was over a hundred people. I'm assuming there's multiple victims, but there weren't just prostitutes. He got solicitation of a prostitute. This was a 17-year-old girl that was chained to the wall. He's in his 80s. This is human trafficking, guys. And then the media covering it up. They got caught. So they got to tell you something, right? So it's twisted at best. But another thing is what they don't tell you, what they don't report on is probably more valuable than the stuff they do. So this again, business partners with Robin Chestnut Tangerman, the land grab guy. I got some questions for my house member now, right? How does he sleep at night? And this is really cool because Robin Chestnut Tangerman actually brings Bill Clinton, it's going to be a direct connection, to Vermont State.
Hmm.
Nobody knew that. I didn't know that until I found this info and dug in. But Bill Clinton used to come here and party with Robin Chestnut Tangerman all the time. If you go down to McChesney Realty, where I was the other day, right across the street, we got a Freemason Lodge. Building on the other side, giant Freemason stars. There's symbolism all over this. But they fly Robin Chestnut Tangerman, our house rep, used to fly Bill Clinton into the Hewlett landing strip in Rupert. So again, the guy that beats up the immigrants and runs the Pollitt Select Board, and his whole family got murdered on his board and all that stuff. Well, he has a private airport in West Pollitt, Vermont, that Clinton used to fly in and out of, and I suspect other things fly in and out of, right? And again, this goes right back. Is there enough here to look them? Is this enough to look? Can anybody investigate? I guess
Yeah,
that's
I
a
mean,
good.
there's a lot here. Quick question: you had mentioned Freemasons, that the Freemasons are involved. Could you
Yeah.
based upon your knowledge and experience, is there a distinguish is there could you distinguish a Mason and a Freemason? Does it matter? What are your thoughts on that topic?
Well, I think we got to be very careful. All Catholics are pedophiles. Can we say that because of the priest scandal? No, right? And there's a lot of good Freemasons out there. There's a lot of good Jewish people out there. It's another divide, right? So you can't, I think it's really dangerous to generalize. And the Freemasons, it's a great It's a great community group that's involved, gives back, does a lot of great things that's filled with Christian trappings, is how I'm going to put it, because they're testing you the whole way up. Then you get to that right 33-degree level. We know about Walt Disney. Again, people who have never heard of Kathy O'Brien, you should go back and review her congressional testimony, satanic, ritual abuse on a presidential level. She mentioned Senator Patrick Leahy. Vermont Senator Patrick Leahy raped her daughter. I can say that because it's per congressional testimony, right? You guys know Patrick Leahy from the Trump impeachment. He's a pedophile. We just named the Burlington International Airport after him. It's now the Patrick Leahy International Air. You got to be really, really bad. They start naming airports and stuff after you, right? So this is the transgender
Hmm.
transgender. You heard me right. That's part of the pedophile agenda. Kathy gave testimony to this way back in the 80s that this was coming. Senator Patrick Leahy was supposed to implement the transgender and the pedophile agenda. That's when Senator Howard Dean, Vermont was the first state to legalize gay marriage. And again, I don't care. You guys want to be gay, be gay. I don't have any problem with that. I think you deserve to be miserable like the rest of us straight people. You can be married. I don't give a shit, right? This is a bigger agenda, though. You look at the transgender community, you talk about an abused group of people. I've done interviewed with people that, realized they made a mistake. It was programming. It was, I'm sorry, a mental illness that was given to you through the indoctrination and programming system that cut off their genitalia. If you're a man that cuts off his penis, that doesn't make you a woman. That makes you a man that cut off his penis. And you're no longer, they can't reproduce. They're on big pharma and therapeutics and the rest of their life. I mean, this is a group of people that's really being, abused. And again, your community is part of my community, everybody that we just triggered. I love you guys too, man. You guys do you. I don't have any problem as long as you're not hurting anybody else. But your community's been compromised, just like mine. So we're telling you about it. I'm sorry. And if you look again, symbology, the Baphomet, it's almost celebrated now. Does anybody really know what the Baphomet is? It's the god of child sacrifice, Moloch, Baal, whatever you want to call it. Comes back to the barium and aluminum, Baal on the periodic table. That's where they're spraying. This is so deep and it's pretty crazy. I think I'm almost done with my screen shares. I knew we'd have a good show though. We cover a lot of stuff. This gentleman, who I can't name, I cannot tell you this gentleman's name. People might know.
Why?
Again, he's an ex-house rep because I have a court order that says I cannot verbally say a name
Okay.
because that would be legal, right? You ever heard of the First Amendment? So what happened is we have this gentleman. He's got a extensive record. They appointed him to the Vermont House of Representative back in 2018 to stop me. Right? I know because I did the election audit. So this guy, again, is violating felony gun law while passing gun control for Vermonters, right? This based on the timestamp. He fled the state of Illinois with a felony for DUI. He wasn't supposed to leave the state. Obvious multiple time felon. Held his wife hostage with a shotgun. Punched his sister in the face. Multiple batteries on law enforcement and women. He's not supposed to have a gun. So this is actually 5 days after he fled the state of Illinois, standing on Vermont soil, and that is a military issue M16. Got him on video and lots of pictures. So now he's passing gun control. I have a problem with that. I believe in safe, responsible gun ownership. I'm a strong 2A opponent, and I don't like this. So I tried to report that. So I went to my local police, the state police, the town, the commissioner, the governor, the senator, the Moms Against Drunk Driving. And what that got me was a court order that said that I cannot post to or about this man. I cannot verbally say his name. Absolutely cannot share any of this evidence because that, again, so much for freedom of the speech and freedom of the press. I have a news network. I was reporting for Vermont Vault at the time. We've got the Grassroots Warrior Network now, but they made it very clear that I have to shut up. I cannot tell you people and warn you people about this criminal. So that led to an arrest warrant. And again, July 4th, Independence Day 2024, I got to spend in jail where they finally caught the big bad Kevin Hoyt. I was force injected. I believe, the second or third assassination attempt on my life in jail, in custody. It's a whole nother story. But this
Do
guy
you,
was a big deal. So
do you have, by the way, and I know we'll hopefully get to it, but I'd like to see some of those pictures you're talking about after you're injected once you're done
I
explaining.
will. We can talk about that a little bit too, because again, just there was no need for it. And I was arrested on the 4th. Again, force injected on the 5th, and then the superintendent for Marble Valley Corrections was put on leave, right, for inappropriate conduct on the 10th. So all these people, most of these people actually that we're talking about, they're gone. They're not there anymore. Again, what happened to them? I guess we can debate till the end of time. But
Mm,
I'm telling you, their crimes and what I think happened is I think we're seeing federal indictments. So again, here's this guy's aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. You just saw the picture, right?
hmm.
That makes this very illegal. I thought gun crimes were a big deal. They want to take my guns, man. But this guy is allowed to do whatever. That bothers me. Here's a friend request from him. Another friend request. Another friend request. But yet they're coming after me for a violation of an abuse prevention order because I told you guys they're trying to falsely incarcerate me, not just because of this guy, but because of everything that I'm exposing. And again, let's go to the election audit. This is pretty damning. Back in 2018, I was part of an election audit, old school manual election audit, where we took 5,500 names and 5,500 addresses. Is the name real? Is the address real? And do they match? We can prove 60 to 70% fraud and trace it back at least to 1975. I was 5 years old, man. This has been happening for a long time. So we released over 500 fraudulent names in a county of 5,500 people. And alphabetically, that was just the A's and half the B's. This is so unbelievable. We took the participation list and just started making different columns for the different, type of people. We got people that voted that didn't count. We got people that didn't vote, but somebody voted for them. Got dead people. We got made up initials. We got people from all over the world, Japan, Australia, voting from my little hometown of Bennington, Vermont. A lot of them haven't even been citizens. Again, change middle initials, fake addresses. The college cheat is absolutely giant, and they threw our college kids under the bus too, under the pains and penalties of perjury. So I wrote a letter. I gave all this information. Who do you give it to? My Secretary of State, and then my Board of Civil Authority. So here's a letter again from the Secretary of State, and there it is on his letterhead. This is James Condos, no longer with us, but this is key. The town clerks are the ones responsible, right? First, I want to be clear, the Secretary of State's office has no investigative power, no enforcement power, and just in regard to election law, our role is administrative to provide guidance. They're just supposed to train your local clerk and your board of civil authority, all your justices of the peace, all these people. They just train them what to do, which is really interesting because when we started making a mess back in 2020 about election fraud, there was articles in Vermont Digger and all our media did these giant articles from James Condos, the Secretary of State, who said we looked. There's no sign of election fraud. These people are crazy. Well, first of all, why would we want them to look and check themselves? That's not how it works, guys. But here it is in light writing. I have no investigation power. They couldn't look if they wanted to. So then we jump back over to the Board of Civil Authority. This is two simple documents. Here's meeting minutes from February 3rd of 2023. And again, Cassandra Barball, that's my town clerk. Here's Janie Connor, Tom Haley. These are all House members. These are all, again, Mary Morrissey, another House member. Brian Mahoney. If you look at these people, they're the hierarchy in our Congress, but also they run my little town, right? So first of all, Brian Mahoney, they expressed frustration with a couple of community members who were claiming the clerk's office and the board is conducting fraudulent practices. That would be me. So they're frustrated and upset that we ask questions. We can't ask questions. We can't catch them. We can't check them. So in general discussion from all members in the community, agree some sort of state, federal election laws. All of the practices were directed by the laws and we're in full compliance with those laws. Mary Morrissey, again, family friend, and David Schaff also reiterated that the state Secretary of State publicly supported their work. That's true. After his office had investigated all of the claims from those residents, nobody ever looked. No action will be taken. So because he looked, they don't have to look. But yeah, he sent them a letter. See the date? He sent them a letter when I raised this issue and said, hey, we can't look. It's the town clerks that are responsible. But then the town clerk says, wait, we're not going to look because he looked. Case closed. And the town of Bennington refused to print this letter. I asked them to publicly put that up so other people could see it. And we couldn't get our elected officials to look at election fraud, them. I can't
Mhm.
imagine why. But even if we could, Mike Lindell did a hell of a job. They throw 5,000 lawyers on it, and here we are, 5 years later, spinning our wheels. We couldn't get them through election fraud because they controlled that process. So we had to find a different way, and that way is RICO. Again, here's some more evidence. Again, last time, 2019. If you look, 2019 is the only odd year, but if you look at my targeting, it's absolutely retaliatory and politically motivated. So if you look at Kevin Hoyt's record, which doesn't exist, by the way, I have zero convictions. Every time they come at me lying, cheating, and stealing, we catch them. But if you look, it's 2016, it's 2018, 19, 20, 2022, 2024. That's the election cycle. They just use it to, you know, and not that we have fair elections. The media wouldn't even release my press releases. The governor refuses debate. They run from me, and I know why, right? So again, in May 22nd, we had a deer skull. I'm a professional hunter at the time, so they tried to get me with a poaching charge just because it's the opposite of me. I didn't poach anything. So this is a setup. And again, their star witness in this was the gentleman that I can't talk, my direct opponent in the last political race. They tried to hide that, had to sanction the state through discovery to even find this out. That's how I got his 19-page criminal NCIC. The state gave it to me. People ask you, how do you get this stuff? They had to. They gave it to me. So again, here is a deer skull. It was this debate. There's contraband, is what they were saying, destruction of contraband. So here we are. Erica Marthridge, our state's attorney, basically destroyed this evidence in May. And here's all property is destroyed. This is June 3rd. This is a falsified document that she made the day of court. This David Faden guy, he's a pretty cool officer. We got him whenever we need falsified police reports. All these people are in the right place. But here he is. This is the end of the trial in August. So here's a document from my state's attorney saying destroy the property in May when the case didn't even end until August. Okay, now that's illegal. When I went down to get my all my information, all my discovery package that I had submitted, I said I want my CD back, all my evidence. They said we can't give it to you, Kevin. The state, per the law, has to hold on to all evidence until 30 days after the case is closed. Well, I just showed you documents where my state's attorney destroyed evidence 6 months before the case closed. She already made the determination. And the ironic part of that is I won. When we got into court, I won. And the judge said, I said, then it's a property dispute. I want my property back. And she couldn't give it to me because she already destroyed it. So she made up that fake document. And again, problem solved. And whenever I go after these people, and I have, I don't need a lawyer to lose in court. Even all the way to the Supreme Court, what will happen is I end up with Chief Justice Cohen again. It's a coincidence. Got about 8 Cohens in my judge lineup. But again, Chief Justice, he's the guy, he stamps them with the, diplomatic immunity. Like we can see any of these guys winning a physical challenge or immunity idol. But that's the game. That's the game they play. They control everything all the way to the top. So there's 2 arresting agencies, in my opinion and my belief. I think we have the military who's arresting our elected officials, the big dogs. And then in our case, we got the major crimes unit, Vermont State Police, who's arresting the appointed or hired officials, like my town manager or so on and so forth. So when the lead detective, his name was Drew Trudeau for the Vermont State Police Major Crimes Unit, he leaked and told TJ Donovan, my attorney general, about the Vermont federal grand jury. It's under wraps. We weren't supposed to tell anybody back then. So our lead detective told the guy we were investigating he was under investigation. You're not supposed to do that. All these people are gone, by the way. Trudeau gone, TJ Donovan gone, right? So my attorney general, when he found out, oh my God, they're looking at us, he made 3 phone calls. The first phone call was to Chief Justice Cohen, Vermont Supreme Court, top of the food chain. Second phone call was to Judge Corson Carzones. His wife just happens to run the Vermont bar. Every lawyer that's ever practiced in the state of Vermont had to give the bar an illegal kickback. You guys know about the bar, British, blah blah blah, right? So again, and then the third phone call was to Judge James Colvin down in Bennington because he is running the EIN hustle. We live in a society of shell companies, and again, I don't know how much bigger. I think I got a couple more screen shares and we'll get out of here, but these are some big issues. Is there enough here to look? I think there is. I hope there is. This gets into the PPP loan
There's
scandal.
definitely a lot. There's definitely a lot. And I like what, I mean, quick question about the bar before you explain this next one.
Sure.
Why do we even have a bar? Why do we have this secret society that people have to owe allegiance to? I mean, the whole thing sounds ridiculous.
Well, it's the corporate. A corporation can only do business with another corporation. That leads back to the straw person, the
Hmm.
QSIP trust, our birth certificates, our parents sold us out. Our parents lied to us, guys. Not that they would lie to us either. They loved us. but they were lied to and then they perpetuated it.
Mm,
Most of the things in life, how do we know what we know? This is a very serious question. And in most cases, it's not from experience, it's because someone told us, whether it was our doctor, our lawyer, our politician, or whoever, right? His story and the tell a vision programming. It's literally Goebbels' propaganda machine, right? World
mhm,
War II, Treaty of Antarctica. If you guys look at the timeline, this is the amazing, untold, hidden history. The same with all there's so much hope, though. There's all these new healing things and everything that's coming out. These things were not only banned, they were blocked, but they're coming out now. So the PPP loan scandal is probably one of the biggest. They say it's the biggest scandal in American history. More money was robbed than, any other time. So for people unfamiliar, again, PPP loan was the bailout program for the small businesses of America. When COVID hit and they killed our economy, again, with intent, in my opinion, if it wasn't for this, and I believe that was actually a function of Nasara and Jasara, where that money come from, but they ended up giving us these loans. So again, it's for small businesses. So people like Erica Marthridge, my state's prosecutor, the blood clot of justice that I've named several times, she got a loan, but she didn't qualify for a loan, right? These guys, the lights were paid. She got paid no matter what. She's your state's attorney. Those were for small business administration. She didn't qualify, but she got a loan anyway. And so did all of our lawyers, right? All these lawyers. The PPP loan scandal is absolutely giant. So this is the Bank of Bennington. These guys are in a lot of trouble, man. This is where most of the illegal, fraudulent PPP loans by your authorities came from, is the Bank of Bennington. Except this guy. This is another lawyer. This is Jason Morrissey. Jason sits on the board for the Bank of Bennington. But when he got his fraudulent, illegal PPP loan, he went through People's Bank, which I think is funny. If you were on the board of a bank, why would you go to a different bank to try to hide it? Right. So Jason Morrissey, again, I think he's also the town moderator. But these guys are incredible. So this guy's interesting. This is Matt Harrington. Matt Harrington he's the director for the Bennington Chamber of Commerce. Right. Matt is embezzling $18,000 a month from the good people and businesses of Bennington, Vermont through the Welcome Center, which they're in charge of. There's so many just incredible stories. But here's Matt's PPP loan. Matt got a loan. Again, he works for the chamber. He didn't qualify. Not to mention, we can't figure out how many employees Matt has because it depends on which federal document that he's filling out. And when you guys say you have so many employees to the federal government, you bet Patrick Winburn, the guy that ran for governor, Pat, you can't count yourself, man. When you say you got 2 employees or 3 employees, you better have 3 employees, or we call that fraud, federal. These guys are trying to get away with the federal government. So here's Matt, again, $53,000 on top of what he gets paid by the chamber, on top of what he gets paid by the town and the state and everything. And his brother, Mike, he runs the Vermont Department of Labor. Man, what do you see? That's hundreds of millions of dollars. Data breaches, so much stuff is coming down with that family. Mike used to run the town stuff, and then he went on. Again, if you're bad enough, they promote you, and his brother Matt took over the chamber. So again, it's the largest fraud in a generation, looting. They took advantage of us. And the funny part is they didn't know that it was going to be public record and trackable. And this was the sting. We told everybody about it when it was going down. So again, we discovered countless businesses that don't exist, or businesses. Again, it was your senator. He had a business 10 years ago and he dissolved it. Boom, it was open all of a sudden again. He collected from the federal government. That's going to come back and bite him, in my opinion. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm just a deer hunter from Bennington. It's an honor and a privilege to get here, to be here, working with all these people. And I think that's the power of that ant I was talking about. Ants are incredible. They're the keepers of the earth. They're
mhm.
down there with the grass and again everything, right? And they're incredibly intuitive. They can lift what 100 times their body weight. And the real power is in the colony. Our strength is in numbers. I got so many friends. The elephant in the room is civil war. I got friends that are not only ready, they've been prepping and waiting for 20 years. That's the last thing we want, guys. We win that one too. It's a simple numbers game. But That's last resort. I don't advocate for any violence. I don't, all we have to do is shine light on this. Light cannot exist in the darkness. So shine some light on it. Take your evidence and bring it to them like the Constitution tells you. Just bring us with you. It makes for hell of an entertaining video. And I think everybody asks me a constant question. Well, if this is true, if all this is true, Kevin, then what are they waiting for? You. That's all we're waiting for, man. I'll
They're
let you
waiting
talk on
for.
your own show, man. I appreciate you letting me hijack your show on the
No,
first
no,
first try,
God.
though.
I like you to talk. I like you to talk and say your story. So, you're they're waiting for you. Are you talking about the bad guys?
No, I'm the people, all the people that are sick of the shit, that have been abused, and you've had enough. Again, when it comes down to Kevin Hoyt and this personal Kevin on a citizen level,
Hmm.
no, I'm not going. I, Kevin Hoyt, am no longer going to personally allow this. I know some stuff. See something, say something,
Hmm.
do something is the end of that. And you don't have to get crazy, was the point of that. There's no violence needed. We use law and order. You actually use love. Go in there smiling and joking. These guys lose their shit. That's one of the biggest weapons we have. Throw in a corny joke, crack a smile. Like I said, they don't know how to handle it. You're going to have them on their feet, and by standing up, this is so important. By standing up, and it's hard to stand at the podium at that select board, right? Or your go see your sheriff or your senator. It's hard to go do that. But by standing, you're exposing them. You're pushing them into hiding. You're costing them money, both in the legal defense usually and the cover up, because they always got to cover it up. But the most important thing is you're giving your neighbor permission to stand. People hopefully can look and go, oh, look, if Kevin can do it, and believe me, if I can do it, a chimp can do it. Now there's a fine line there though. Like, and I think I crossed it. I know who wants their brake lines cut, who wants warrants and felonies, and they come after my friends, and you can't hunt with me. If you go hunting with me, you're going to get harassed by game wardens and every. It's just the way it is to be Kevin Hoyt. So I am toxic, whether that's deserved or not, that's the truth. And I understand that. And for a lot of times that was part of the hard part of doing what we do. Is people like I'm controversial. They say I'm violent and crazy and all. None of those things are true. I usually maintain my dignity and cool. They lose their shit, like I said, but aggressive, yeah, maybe I'll take aggressive because I'm not going to stand for it anymore. And if you're sitting around waiting for Donald Trump or the military or some knight in shining armor to come in and save you, I've got some bad news, guys. All we have is each other, but the cool part is that's also how I know we're going to be okay. In Vermont, we call it Vermont Strong. That means we're all in this together, right? And you don't have to be a Vermonter to be Vermont Strong. So if you have food and your neighbor doesn't, then help them out, right? We're watching that. Again, I think our communities are uniting. We're getting back to our priorities. Family maybe matters a little more than money. Education. Are you using education to educate your kids so they can get a jump on life, or is it a daycare service? And all the things that we have coming. Again, we talk a lot of doom and gloom and like, oh, but I am so hopeful. I see a bright, beautiful future. I've seen engines with my own eyes that run on air and water. The healing stuff that's coming. I have, the Wave Watch is giant frequency healing, scalar energy, color and light, amino acids, lasers. There's so many good things. Coincidences don't have to be bad. There's a lot of good coincidences going on right now. And if you're not afraid, fear is a powerful weapon. The world is full of opportunity right now if you're not afraid. And frankly, some things are worth dying for. It's another lie. Death and taxes, the two guarantees in life. There's two more lies, dude. They're not. I've always believed we're eternal. All right. I'm in this, people say meat suit. I'm in this divine temple. I like the one I got this time. Right. I plan on staying around and whatever, but I know we're eternal. We don't die. I've always had that faith. Now I can show you the government documents. The government knows it too, right? So we're here, I think. I don't know why we're here. I think I found my path and mission, and I think I feel so unworthy when I say this, but I think God sent me. My whole life now, all the why me's and what the F's, right? It all makes sense now. They were preparing me. I was sharpening my blade. I was getting ready. Behind the scenes, we had that conversation. The word interrogatory. I'm a deer hunter. I shouldn't even know what that word means, but I
Every
do.
every every man should know what that word means, man.
It's a fancy word for
What
question.
I've learned myself from taking these hits is when you understand the law, especially like when this whole third assassin thing went down, man, a lot of nutty people started filing lawsuits because they saw me as somebody vulnerable that might actually win a bunch of money in defamation. And just the ability to counter and call him a vexatious litigant, being able to file my own papers, essentially it cost me $0, but my time. Every
Right.
man needs to know this
No,
because
we need to do that. You need to stand up for yourself. And the things we're doing, I started a law firm. I'm not a lawyer. I started a network. I can tell you every way not to start a network, every problem because we did it. Don't let, some because you've never done anything stop you. This is our children. This is our future. This is literally our everything. Again, some things I think are worth dying, but the rules, the law, the Constitution, I love the Constitution. Unfortunately, those apply only to us, the little guys, where they do whatever they want with impunity. And we've seen that over and over. How much faith do you have in the Supreme Court? Go back and look, how did the Supreme Court get elected and why are they even there? And then you go, I mean, it's all, they call it fruit of the poisonous tree, if you want to
Mhm.
talk legalese. None of this is legal. It's not been legal for a long time. We lost our country pretty much after we established it. In fact, we never even got it. England remained the port master, right? So we couldn't print our own money or control shipping, or boy, what a victory. We have been lied to. Like I said, and America is actually the first country that was set up on Freemason architecture. George Washington, man, I like George. My grandfather, like I said, fought with George Washington, hung out with people like Sam Adams. George Washington was a Freemason. He just took the estates and made them into states. Why do you think Washington's set up like a freaking owl? And all these, again, symbolism, right? So I don't think you're crazy, all the people watching this show. I think the world we find ourselves in is absolutely insane. And let your weird light shine bright. I think we have amazing powers, and those powers we're starting to, I'm going to say, remember more than learn. Because I feel like I've done this before, and I'm ready. I'm here for this, and we're going to do it this time. We're going to win. There's billions of us, billions worldwide. This is so much bigger than Donald Trump in the United States of America. So all of you Americans, it's hard for us to think outside the box. I just gave endorsement for Kalin Georgescu over in Romania. Again, Laura Eisenhower, I signed a big document with Norman Travesey and Brad Wasney up in Canada. Canada's not a country, and we proved it. You know what I mean? Like all these different. So when you're seeing Donald Trump talking about making Canada a state or Mexico a state, or maybe we're just going back to our original, again, I don't know is a pretty common answer for me lately, ma'am.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you, but I've been wrong. I have been wrong before. I try to correct those things. What I give people, I guess, is my opinion and analysis, my hypothesis, and then I give you the links. And don't believe me, I'm a deer hunter from Vermont State. Why the hell would anybody believe me? Here's how I reach my conclusions. Here are some of the links and leads so you guys can go look. And I know a decade ago, they told me it was the story that can't be told. And that pissed me off. I'm like, I can take it. Just tell me. But I think I get it now because it's so unbelievable, inconceivable. Unless you go in there and you look for yourself, it just sounds crazy, right? You're not going to believe it. I mean, that story that we just told in the last hour, that takes out my whole state. If
Mhm.
anybody paid attention, if anybody cared, if all of us ants can get together in one, but we're so divided and especially corruption. There's no lack of content in my town or your town, or it doesn't matter what state we're talking. You can't escape this. You're not going to go to a different state or a different country. This is everywhere. So come join the revolution. The house of cards is falling. Come help us push. That's what I'm telling the audience here.
That's awesome, brother. Awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the Blood Money podcast. Is there anything that we didn't touch upon that's important to mention before we wrap it up?
Man, I could do a Jason Q and pull 14 straight hours with you if we wanted. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. I want to empower the people. Again, all we have is each other. So participation is mandatory. at this point. And if you know about this stuff and you're turning a blind eye, that makes you a bad guy. I'm sorry. We're starting to make those distinctions too. In fact, like I said with Bill Humphrey, they come to me now. So if you're a regular citizen person and you're still defending these criminals, I always invite you on my podcast. Come on, we'll review they can't explain themselves. If you're going to defend them, join me and maybe you can explain and then explain yourself because there's no reason for it. When you have good regular people that are trying to stand up and warn you, don't do any victim shaming either, guys. Listen to us. Look, what if we're right? And how come I haven't been sued for defamation? They should sue me. Thanks for having me, Vam. We'll do another show, and I'm sure we'll pick some more subject matter and have our way with it. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for the viewers out there joining us on this Blood Money episode. Make sure you check out americahappens.com for all of our latest content. I will see you all on the next episode of Blood Money.